Welcome to the Sales Leaders Operating System, the podcast for sales leaders who know that success starts with strong leadership. Whether it's your first time leading a team or you're a seasoned pro, we've got the real-world advice you need to lead your team to greatness. Now, here's your host, Matt McDarby.
Hello and welcome to the Sales Leaders Operating System podcast. I'm Matt McDarby, host and author of The Divine Comedy of Sales, The Cadence of Excellence, coach and advisor to elite sales leaders all over the world. I'm so happy to have you with me. This is episode 46 in our series, but you may have noticed I said the Sales Leaders Operating System podcast. For those of you listening for the first time, you may think, okay, catchy name, makes sense, right? This is a podcast for sales leaders. But for those who may have listened to one or more of the first 45 episodes, you'll recognize we have changed the name of the show. The show up to this point has been known as The Divine Comedy of Sales. That is also the title of my third book on sales leadership. But we made a decision for a lot of reasons, not the least of which is for search purposes and to make sure that the title more closely lines up with the topics that we're diving deeply into week in and week out. So, new name of the show, Sales Leaders Operating System. So I am still your host, for better or worse. In the coming season, I've got interviews lined up and we'll be releasing every other week with some fantastic guests, some old friends and partners, some new friends, everyone that has a valuable perspective on sales leadership or on sales enablement and enabling leaders. Those are the types of folks I'm going to have on the show. So we're going to continue playing the role of guide or Sherpa as we have over the last year or so with the show. We are going to make some changes with regard to format. You'll have some episodes like this one where it's just me offering my point of view and some things to think about and challenging you to think about what are some small ways that you can make change to your approach to leading that will make big impact on you and on your team's results. I will also have some co-hosted episodes. I'm inviting, again, some old friends to participate in conversations with other leaders in a sort of mini panel style. So we'll have some shows with not just one, but several guests. I'll have co-hosts who are also listening and asking questions. Should make for a really interesting sort of a mix of ideas and perspectives. And the one thing that won't change is at the end of every single episode from here onward, I am going to challenge you to think about, okay, based on what you've just learned in today's episode, what will you do differently? What are you going to start doing that you weren't doing before? What are you going to stop or cut out because it's getting in the way of excellence? What are you going to do more of? What are you going to continue to do? And that will be how we approach helping you to drive small changes that, again, I believe will have huge impact on your performance as a leader and on your team's results. So here's what I ask, that as we take this next step in our journey and we produce episodes that are of high quality, designed specifically for sales leaders with perspectives from other sales leaders, I ask you to subscribe, to join us, be a part of our little community. It's growing day by day. Give us feedback on the show. Help us to understand how to make it better. And get the word out, please. We would love to have people join us as guests. We certainly want to expand our audience and get the word out to a much larger community of sales managers, not just here in the States, but everywhere, all over the world. So I know we've got listeners over in Europe and in Australia and South Africa. I'd love to hear from folks who are listening to the show from other locations, and I would ask for your help in doing that. So why the Sales Leaders Operating System? Why now? We've been talking a lot over the course of the last, call it, dozen to 15 episodes about systems thinking and its impact on the performance of sales leaders. And if you've listened to any of those episodes, you know that I'm really strongly encouraging you, whether you're a frontline manager or a leader of leaders, whether you're new to this role or whether you've been doing it for a long time, to think more systematically about your role, to diagnose, to have a way of diagnosing and moving the levers that affect performance in your organization. More than just something that you have to do when you're first hired into a new role, or when you're newly promoted, or when you're joining a new company. Of course, you're going to be in diagnosis mode because you don't know much about your environment or your role. You don't even know what you don't know. But in order to be really effective, to aim your time and effort, to deliver value to your people, to develop them according to the outcomes that they need to deliver, as well as their individual development needs, that you really have to do a proper diagnosis. So it all starts there. That doesn't change. This coming season, we're going to be diving deeply into what leaders are doing to diagnose performance issues. Some of them are going to be very similar to issues that you're having in your organization. So please tune in. We're talking to some really smart people and learning from them regarding how to diagnose down to the root cause of the issues that are getting in the way of people delivering what they're paid to deliver. So I'm excited about that and hope you will join us for that journey. The other reason for the Sales Leaders Operating System, why now, is that I think people look at selling and leading as if it's this dark art or a black box or this thing we have to sort of reinvent or figure out anew every time. It's so unpredictable. And look, this is a very dynamic profession. And when you're leading a sales organization, especially in a new place, it is hard to catch up to the changes and learn enough about your environment to be confident and competent at what you do. But you still need to have a system, a way to assess the important pieces of the organization, the culture, the people, the processes, all of it. I was talking with a friend and former colleague of mine. He's been a guest on the show, Kevin Kearns, a few weeks ago. He's taken on a new role, doing some consulting work, really enjoying that. He's also teaching for a sales program at DePaul University, so he's excited about that. But he's working with a client, really trying to help them to establish the infrastructure they need for future growth. And I'm looking at his approach, and I recognize it because it's the very same system in application, the very same system that he's using to drive diagnosis of what this new organization needs. If he is to stay on and remain involved in that organization, he'll be making decisions based on that system. He knows which levers to move. So I'm using Kevin just as an example because there are a lot of great leaders out there. These are the people that you see being hired into chief revenue officer or chief sales officer roles at some really big organizations. Why? Because they've demonstrated the ability to use a system to diagnose and tune and lead an organization to success. And that's what I want for you. So again, I invite you to join us on this journey. I'm very, very excited to continue to play the role that I play, introducing you to new ideas, listening, digging into stories, learning from people, and then challenging you to think about how you can apply what you've just learned too. In our next episode, I'm really excited to have a very close partner, a business partner of mine, a gentleman named Steve Gelda. He is the president and one of the co-founders of Ignite Selling. We've actually got so much to talk about. We've divided that into 2 episodes. Steve's got an incredible story. He's learned from amazing coaches and mentors, and I want to invite you to join us for that next episode. In the meantime, I'm Matt McDarby, author and host of the Sales Leaders Operating System podcast. Thank you so much for joining. Bye-bye for now.